Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan, channel admin and the main host here. Just want to talk about Everton's defeat away in Baltimore in America on the preseason friendly against Arsenal. And I want to know what people thought about the game last night or in the early hours of this morning. What did you think about the game? And I wanted to just give you my thoughts and reflect on the game. And I know a lot of people like to use some excuses for preseason games. Oh, it's just a friendly, or Arsenal have played 2 games before us. Firstly, my answer to you is why have Arsenal played 2 games more than us already, and other teams as well? Why should that be an excuse? Why, after Everton being in such a precarious state last season, an absolute disgrace, were the players not brought back a little bit earlier so we can work with them for longer? Because the season starts in 3 weeks. And yesterday, I'll be honest with you, I think apart from the youngsters, I didn't learn anything new about any of them. I think we will just be going through the motions in preseason. And, yesterday we didn't look like scoring. And I don't see how things will just suddenly change without new players. But I just want to focus on that. Arsenal, they played 2 games more. They looked fitter than us, certainly in the first half. But then why are Everton not coming back? Why haven't we got six preseason fixtures like most teams? Why have we just got 4 fixtures? Why is the standard of opposition as well, Blackpool and Dynamo? I understand the charity behind it, but we've got to get these players in as good a condition as we can ahead of the season. I don't know whether Lampard knows what his best team is at the moment. I think that's a fair assessment. I think he's experimenting with the different personnel as well. I do feel like he, at the moment, can only really play a 5 at the back. He hasn't got a holding midfielder there. He's tried Gabamin and Lewis Washington. We'll see whether they are quite holding midfielders, but there's not a lot of positives that I can take from last night other than the young players that came on in the second half. And I want to know what you think in the comments. Should Everton have been brought back sooner? Should we really be using that as an excuse for the defeat that Arsenal have had 2 games more than us? Or should we actually be questioning, why haven't we had those 2 games? Why weren't we here earlier? I'm just welcoming people in. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for coming on. And Mark, of course, as well, and Robbie and all our regular viewers. So kicked off 12 last night. I watched it, although I'm a season ticket holder, I watched it on Stadium. Because I couldn't get the Everton stream working. Although I do believe it did work in the end. And I had these 2 American commentators. And oh my God, it was unbearable. Really, really, really bad commentary. Turned it down, watched the game objectively. And Lampard went with a team that I think made sense in terms of you've got a lot of central defenders. So he played, 3. I thought it would be 3 at the back. In Ben Godfrey, Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina in the middle of that. And really, to be honest with you, I think Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate suit playing at fullback, as we've seen. I think they're comfortable defending out wide. So in theory, you would think that having Godfrey and Holgate either side of Yerry Mina would be give the side a good balance. And of course, Nkunku, who's not renowned for his defensive ability, and I think he's still a young player, 21, 22. And Patterson, who's untried, untested, although the club apparently still looking at right backs because they were linked with Southampton's Walker Peters, which says a lot, to be honest. But we went with the 5 at the back there, and I felt like it did make sense based on that personnel, providing your wing backs, Patterson and Nkunku, are playing high and wide. The reality was they were basically a 5 at the back, 5 statues, if you like, in a flat back 5. Midfield, Davis and Decore, and then 3 up front, Richarlison, Dele Alli, and Damari Gray. And the reason it took me a moment there to think about who that was is because, to be honest with you, I don't think he really touched the ball. And look, I know everyone talks, this is preseason. I'm looking at this objectively. I'm not I don't want to make excuses for things. I'm not hyperboling it either. It is just a preseason game. Ultimately, the result doesn't matter as long as on the 6th of August against Chelsea, we've got a team that looks like can score, defend set pieces and keep possession. But for now, I'm going to look at that as how I see it. at face value. Dele Alli, pointless playing him on the left. He's not a left winger. He doesn't have any pace. He likes to slow the game down. Damari Gray, I don't think it suits him to be kind of tucking in. I think he's a natural winger who you want on the touchline. You want him running in behind. So it doesn't really work, I don't think, to have them two there. And obviously Calvert-Lewin was up front yesterday, and the three of them were just kind of aimlessly jogging around the pitch, doing nothing. Tom Davis, he's an absolute gem of a person, but I don't think he's going to be the answer really as a number 6. I know in that he just doesn't get on the ball enough. Certainly yesterday in that game, didn't have any impact. I don't think he really touched the ball. I think he wants to be positive. I thought Doucouré was one of the better players yesterday, in fairness. I think in that first half, he was waiting to snap onto some loose balls and win possession back, and good with the turnovers. But there wasn't an awful lot of end product. But anyway, that was the team. And of course, Jordan Pickford in goal as captain. Now, Arsenal went with the full strength team. Gabriel Jesus played, and Saka, and all the usual suspects. It wasn't a good affair, was it? Let's be honest. I mean, what do you think? I felt we didn't really string any passes together. It was more like a training match for Arsenal, where it was attack versus defense. Classic Everton. And I just want to go back to what I said before about having the 5 at the back. It doesn't work unless the wing backs are very high and wide. And we played with a back 5 basically. And then you've got 2 in midfield chasing shadows and 3 up front. It doesn't work. I know he might feel like it's enforced to do this, but if we're going to go into this season with this group, with the 5 at the back, we're going to really, really struggle. It could be worse than last season. Genuinely. I don't want to sound too negative. We've got to get players in and find a style and find a way to adapt. But that first half was basically just Arsenal all over us. In terms of possession, us just chasing shadows, waiting to counter-attack and not really having any end product. And lack of balance up front. And for me, the problems are gaping and glaring and staring us in the face, that we need a central midfielder who can really create things and dictate play. Another one who's an out-and-out defensive midfielder who can cover the ground. And a forward who can do a bit of everything like Richarlison did. I think if we had more money to spend, I'd love another centre-back, a left-footed centre-back. We've got centre-backs that can't head a ball at the moment. Certainly in the Godfrey Holgate, they seem to be afraid of the ball. I was disappointed yesterday that we conceded a goal from a set piece. I think there's a corner. Pickford comes out, misses it. At the back post, no one's reading the situation. No one's anticipating it. Jesus, obviously, he's a poacher and he's there. Open goal. Effectively, it's a great finish, but it's just the same Everton. And I think we did see some of the same patterns as last season as well, where we would give the ball away really cheaply and nearly concede. Both goals were pretty shambolic. Obviously, the second one is just completely through the midfield. There's no one there. And that's the problem with that formation. And Nkunku also showing that he's defensively not switched on at the moment. I want to touch on our style of play. I think Lampard obviously would have liked maybe them to be high and wide, the wing backs, but that didn't work. We tried to play out from the back. That's one thing you can say for sure about that game. And we tried to play into the midfield, into Doucouré. Not really Tom Davis, to be fair. But it usually was just going backwards or sideways. There wasn't really a willingness to turn. And Arsenal pressed us really, really efficiently. And actually, when Doucouré needs to turn, needs to pop it off quickly and beat that press, he didn't most of the time. So it was pretty aimless. And I think Patterson and Nkunku, they all were really poor. I mean, I think that most of those players were really poor, apart from Doucouré, who was decent. And I can't even say Pickford, because obviously that punch for the set piece, but you can't really say an awful lot about that. You can't say an awful lot about that, because there's not really any positives to take from that first half other than good for fitness. But it shows the levels really where we're at right now. They're miles ahead of us, Arsenal, in terms of the structure, the personnel, the squad depth, everything. We're miles off it. The second half, obviously, brings on a load of kids. We've got Stanley Mills. There was a left centre-back. I can't remember his name, to be honest. if anyone can enlighten me. But Stanley Mills, I think, was at right back. Lewis Washington, who was on loan at Tranmere, into midfield. And Gabamin came on. It was a completely different 11. Awobi, Rondon, Gordon, Stanley Mills, Tarkovsky, Michael Keane, Mikolenko, Lewis Washington, and Gabamin. And so it was a completely different 11. And I wouldn't say it was night and day between first and second half, but it was massively better. I felt like every single Everton player had a little bit more spring in their step. There was a lot more purpose, a lot more intensity, a lot more running. Awobi, Gabamin even looked on it. To be fair, he didn't look so slow and sluggish like previous times. He looked like he just wanted to run and ultimately you'll say that we never looked like scoring. Okay, that's negative, but did we look like scoring? There was no chance to score. We are a blunt-edged sword at the moment. And that was the first half as well with that lot, and it was the second half as well. The problem was 5 at the back. 5 defenders, all in a back line. If it's 3-4-3, it's completely different. You've got more midfielders. You've got more people pinning them back. We had 5 at the back, 5 in a line, 2 in midfield. And because we haven't got enough numbers forward, we don't look like scoring. We don't look like creating. And I am really, really concerned at the moment that we're going into the season with this group of players. Do we honestly think that Lampard's going to turn this into a capable football team, a possession team? Absolutely not. There's no one who's been able to do it. There's no manager who's been into Everton who's been able to get us playing like a possession-based team. And I really hope we don't spend 6 months getting found out again, trying to do something new. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope he can convert these players into more of a possession-based team. But I'm concerned the young players were miles better than the senior pros. Stanley Mills, Reece Welsh. Thanks, Michael, for providing his name. Reece Welsh, Stanley Mills, Lewis Washington. They look braver. They looked like they had more purpose, more intensity. They wanted to have a point to prove. To be fair, as I said to you before, all of the 11 in the second half were better than the 11 in the first, but we still didn't look like scoring. Arsenal, of course, you can argue that they made loads of changes and brought on Nketiah and all of their sort of B team, and it was fairly matched. Arsenal, in fairness, didn't look like scoring. I think if Everton had started with Tarkovsky and Michael Keane, perhaps that Everton would have got a draw, maybe. But you can sit here again and say, look, it's just fitness. It's just pre-season. Don't be moaning. Fine. Okay. But don't speak to me in December at Christmas when we're still having these conversations. And because you're delusional, thinking that all of a sudden overnight these players are going to be able to implement this fast-paced, high-press, intense, possession-based style, it's not going to happen. And I can't sit here and suddenly get super positive like maybe Dan from the channel would be. And I was speaking to him last night and he was really pleased and impressed with it. I'm not. At the end of the day, we've got to look like a team that can create chances and score goals. We've got 1 goal scorer in that entire squad, and it's Calvert-Lewin, and he barely played last season, and I think he got 3 goals all year. So let's come down to earth. I know the summer kind of and the Crystal Palace game, everyone suddenly forgets what happened last season, but we lost 20 games. We were dreadful. We were toothless. We were bad defensively. We've just sold our best player, our most influential attacker, who got all the assists, all the goals last season. I know, okay, it wasn't that many, but still got them. So we need players, and we're talking about Conor Gallagher on loan. Realistically, he started for Chelsea in a preseason game tonight. That's not happening at this stage. Maybe later in the window, because Chelsea will chase the glamorous names, and perhaps he isn't the glamorous name. Morgan Gibbs-White, who got 12 goals and 10 assists last season in the Championship. That's the sort of player we should be looking at, although I do think the fee is bonkers. Cornet at Burnley, really? Thank you, Blue Stee. It's Washington. It's Warrington. Lewis Washington. You know what it was? It's because I was watching them and they said they were all in Washington. That's why, Warrington. But Cornet at Burnley has had 1 good season in the Prem, in a poor team. So how far can you really say he's a Richarlison replacement? And I don't honestly think that he would have been first choice. I think we were going for Eriksen, Zinchenko, Breuer, and Morgan Gibbs White. And Breuer's going to go to West Ham for 35 million. Eriksen's obviously signed for United, 3-year deal, 150 grand a week. We offered him less money in a 2-year contract. And we spoke to Lingard that, he's just a bad apple, isn't he, really? I think he'll go to Asia or Dubai. And Zinchenko's going to go to Arsenal for 30 million, and they're building with a plan. And we're just not there yet. I think we got to get to the new stadium. We've got to find a way to get to the new stadium. 2 years. 2 years to build this team. Well, not really to build this team, but to be comfortable so that we can get there as a Premier League team and then invest. Because I also want to say, how long is this FFP going to affect us? Because most of these signings were made kind of like 2017, 18. It's 4 years since. And we're still carrying these ridiculous losses that are preventing us from investing any money in the squad. Let me know in the comments what you thought about last night. Ultimately, it's a fitness test. It's a fitness test, but we have to accept we didn't look like scoring a goal in the full 90 minutes. We had one shot, and that was Nkunku at left back. We've got to try and do something. I don't know what it is. I really don't. Mark is saying, I saw a stat for the season and we're tipped to finish 18th. At the moment, Mark, I think that is about right, 17th or 18th, without players, because if you look at the squad compared to last season, we might be better defensively because of Tarkowski, but I think we'll be worse going forward. And I don't have the confidence that we'll actually be able to attract the names, never mind have the money to pay these fees. You're looking at 35 million for Breuer. That's just absolutely bonkers. He only scored 6 goals last season. It was his first Premier League season. So where is the money going to come from? Where are the players going to come from? Are we going to buy the right players? And are they going to integrate quickly in the team? And we're going to make this same shit excuse that we always make, which is we'll start the season, we'll start it poorly, we'll have the new signings in maybe towards the end, and everyone will go, well, they never had a pre-season, they've only just joined. Well, I don't give a fuck. We've got to get the players in now, get them integrated into the team, and start to put a plan in place for how we're going to play this season. If that's 5 at the back, then fine, but not a flat back 5, which becomes a 5-2-3, where we get overrun in midfield and the defenders don't know who they're picking up. I'm going to come to the comments and then I'm going to wrap things up. We've got Richo. Hi, Richo. All the regular watchers, thank you so much. Make sure you like the video. It really helps. Hit that like button right now for me. Literally, there's no effort whatsoever. And of course, if you're new to the channel, I'm Ryan. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Turn the notifications on. We've got content coming all the time. We've got great people on the channel this year. Dan, of course, he's super positive, super great energy. Yandalf with his wonderful poetry and his words of wisdom and his very well-balanced Everton punditry. Of course, Mabsy, one of the founders, is absolutely legendary on here. My brother Basil and my other brother Steve. So we've got a really good mix of people. So if you like Everton content, make sure you subscribe and follow us throughout the season. Richard's saying Holgate shopping, happy with youth player, especially Mills. I think Holgate is the one player who I think is would be the first central defender I'd be looking to get rid of. But actually, I think Lampard would probably rather get rid of Keane or Mina. I just think he probably likes Holgate. Maybe he's got a little bit more speed about him. But Tarkowski for me yesterday showed that he's got to play. You've got to play him. We need a lot more than that, Mark. Robbie's right here. We'll be right down there with this current setup. Yeah, I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think we've got to. I can only look at the Arsenal game objectively, as in it that was a football game. The reason I might come across critical is because Arsenal didn't treat that game like a game and footy in the park. They took that game really seriously, played with real intensity and tried to implement their style and their best 11. And I don't know whether we did that. If we're going to finish 17th, we need Dan's optimism. First game of the season on my birthday. Just hope it's not a bad one. I can't actually make that, Mark. I'm not going to be there on the 6th. I'm working. But I hope they don't ruin your birthday. That's all. It's quite a few comments, but I think they're just repeating what I've been saying. So all in all, Everton lose pre-season. Don't look like scoring. Don't know who the best 11 is. There's no creativity. We can't defend set pieces. We make stupid mistakes. We're a blunt edge knife. What more can you say? If you want to twist it, let's be super positive and say Arsenal had already played 2 games, but why is that the case? Because we all start the season the same weekend. Why should we come back late and have 4 games? But yeah, let's run with that super positive outlook and say Arsenal played 2 games more. They're fitter than us, and we were never going to compete with them anyway. And it's only pre-season. Make of it what you will. I hope you'll take this at face value. Guys, thanks for watching. Of course, make sure you subscribe. I'm hoping there's going to be some transfer news this week. I really hope we can get Morgan Gibbs-White and Breuer over the line, because I think they fit the profile of player that Everton need to attract, which is a young, promising player who has done something to show that they're going to achieve big things in the game, and bring them in before they are reaching the level where they become unattainable, really, if they're going to be there. And thus spake Mike is saying, Onana, Cornet, I want a brochure, Morgan Gibbs-White, and we will be okay. Okay, but do you really want 38 games just to be okay? This is Everton Football Club. We should be doing something. We should be trying to get close to Europe. And unfortunately, expectations have been completely lowered. And I know you can say, oh, we lost Luka Dean, we've lost Sigurdsson, we lost James Rodriguez, we lost Richarlison. 4 massive players, really good footballers in their own way. And we lost them 4, and we haven't replaced them with players of that standard. But we still should be doing better with the players we've got, with your Allans, the Gomez's, who've got big reputations, the Calvert-Lewin, these sorts of players. At the moment, he's correcting himself. He thinks we'll be competitive. I think we'll be competitive with them. I think we need a backup striker. Breuer's not going to want to come and just play behind Calvert-Lewin. I think he's going to want to play in a 4-4-2. And Gibbs-White, this is the thing. If we're playing 5-2-3, where does he fit in? Because he's a number 10, sort of a number 8, box to box. You know, are we going to play 3 in midfield? I hope we do. I think we're better with 3 in midfield. Can't stand that amount of defenders. You can't honestly expect us to score goals losing Richarlison out of a team that was already struggling and switching from a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 to a 5-2-3. That's all I can say. Guys, thank you so much. Lovely to have you on. And I'll be back very soon, probably something before the Minnesota game. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.